Audible is audio entertainment that entertains, educates, and inspires. For you, the listeners of the CreepGeeks Podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a 30-day free trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/CheapGeek. Again, that's audibletrial.com/CheapGeek for your free audiobook. Enjoy this with your free trial. 30 days of membership free, plus 2 free audiobooks that are yours forever. 1 credit a month after trial, good for any book regardless of price. Exclusive member savings. Get 30% off additional audiobooks. Easy exchanges. Don't love a book? Swap it for free anytime, seriously. Again, that's audibletrial.com/CheapGeek for your free audiobook today. So it begins again. Welcome to CreepGeeks Podcast, Season 5, Episode 213.
In this episode, April Fools.
Yay. So here we are again. It is April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
If you're listening to the podcast, we're glad you're here. If you come back and listen often, we do very much appreciate it. Yeah. So, April Fool's Day, before we get into it, is a day where you play practical jokes on people and you know, kind of, as the British would say, take the piss out of them, right?
Yeah.
I might be using that right. I don't know. We'll see. If you're British and I'm not, let us know. How about that? So anyway, before we get into the podcast, there's a couple things you can do to help us help you. And it's really sort of self-serving in one way or another, but kind of boils down to this. We have a phone number for you to call if you'd like to call and leave us a message, maybe a note, a tidbit, or something like that, in which you would like to possibly pass along some information and or share with us here at the CreepGeeks Podcast. I'm Greg.
I'm Omi.
And that phone number is
575-208-4025.
Yeah. And it's basically a voicemail type number. So if you call thinking you're actually going to speak to the dulcet tones of one of us, that's not going to happen.
Oh.
Yeah. It is what it is, man. Leave voicemail.
Yeah.
Got stuff going on. Also, we have a CreepGeeks Facebook group and a Facebook page. So if you go to Facebook and you type in CreepGeeks,
you'll find
all
us.
together. You know, when people say all together, no spaces and all that kind of stuff. Yes, yeah. We understand how the internet works. But if you type in CreepGeeks, you'll find us and you can interact with us there. And we do like to share funny and funny things. I was going to say uplifting, but sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
You know, funny stuff. We do like to interact with the common folk. Know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah. Everybody's kind of like, you know, and you can share stuff. It's great. You can come be our friends, and we'd appreciate that. Know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you would like to try out Audible, as you heard in the commercial in the beginning, it's something that we do recommend for long trips on long trips. Yeah, I was going to go somewhere with it, but you know, it's like, you know, you can play an audiobook on tape, and okay, so audiobooks work great if you're a passenger or if you're by yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you're a passenger taking a long trip, download some audiobooks and listen, and it might sort of bring you back to the way it used to be back in the olden days where you had less things to pay attention to and worry about. Just a book on tape.
Okay.
Yeah. And see, when I was growing up, if you were like, hey, listen to this book on tape, I'd say, don't talk to me, man. I got stuff to do. I could not be bothered. But I'm older, and I kind of like it. You know why?
Why?
I don't have to read.
Yeah.
I don't have to find my glasses. I don't have to concentrate on it. And I've been sort of taken away from the art of reading and flipping the pages and all that because of the internet. You know, I read real quick, scan what I want, click on, move to the next thing. I don't have, you know, it's like, it's hard. I used to be a pretty avid reader.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, it just, you know, come on, man.
And for me, with like Audible and podcasts, but primarily Audible because I want to start reading again, is I used to work a job for over a decade where I was required to read. That was like 80% of my job.
Yeah.
So I would read a lot for this job because you were reading customers' technical issues.
Yeah. I mean, but that's a little bit different though. I mean,
so I never had time. By the time I got home, I didn't want to read a book.
Yeah.
At all. I just could not. So I would I started getting like audiobooks and stuff like that. And this was before the time of Audible. Now that Audible's out, it's like, oh, this would have been perfect.
Yeah, I mean, if you got a job where you're turbo pecking emails and doing data entry and stuff like that, I can totally see listening to podcasts and actually doing this too. But it does work on long trips.
Yeah.
And we'll play an audiobook when we go down the road. But yeah, anyway, it's free. Free audiobook. You can sign up for free and give it a little shot if you want. Just, if you think you might want to cancel it or whatever, send yourself a Google Calendar reminder to remind yourself to cancel.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's all good. So anyway, there you go. Let's do this. So if you're tuning into the podcast for the very first time, because we're doing this episode kind of out of sorts here, we're a paranormal,
And
offbeat. Read the spiel.
You're the one with the finger signs and
That's
stuff.
because I'm gesticulating.
Gesticulating. Okay. Well, CreepGeeks Podcast is an offbeat news podcast that takes a lighthearted approach to the paranormal, cryptid, supernatural, strange, the silly, and trending tech topics circulating the web, broadcasting paranormal news and fun stories from our underground bunker in the mountains of western North Carolina.
That's right.
Yeah.
There you go. So let's talk about April Fool's Day.
Okay.
So every April Fool's Day, I'm kind of reminded of something that happened to the area I grew up in locally, known as Virginia Beach.
Yeah.
Back before people started calling it Va Beach, which I don't like for some reason, right?
Oh, and then when I was growing up, we just started calling it the 757.
Yeah, I hate that even more, right? Hey, yeah, are you in the 757? Are you part of the Seven Sister Cities? I hate that too.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, it was just Virginia Beach, right? None of us called it Va Beach or anything like that, at least as far as I can remember, the people I hung around with. But this goes back to a time way back in 1992. And I know I'm doing this kind of out of order, but I want to sort of set the scene so when we actually go through and talk about it, people are like, what are they talking about? So I grew up in Virginia Beach. Right. And you grew up in Virginia Beach pretty much, right? Well, in Virginia Beach, and it's something that the city was proud of for a long time. I'm assuming they still are. We're not there now.
They're proud of it.
There's a place called Mount Trashmore. Okay. Now, Mount Trashmore is was kind of unique because what they did was they took the city landfill, right? And they took the trash that was at the landfill and they sort of buried it and sort of eco-engineered it to turn it into a mountain.
Yeah.
It really wasn't a mountain. It was a mount.
A very large hill.
Yeah. And at the time, it was like the largest hill in Virginia Beach because Virginia Beach is kind of flat.
It was the largest natural point, i.e. natural,
Yeah.
point in Virginia Beach.
Yeah. Now, that's no longer the case because they actually put a couple skyscrapers up and all that stuff. But a long time ago, originally, Mount Trashmore, when they built this, didn't really include ways to vent methane.
Yeah.
Or methane, if you want to pronounce that that way. I hate that too. Methane. And Ethernet. I hate that too. So anyway, and I'm just kind of setting the scene there for you. So when we talk about one of our subjects, you kind of have a general idea of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's the place where everybody in the wintertime, the 1 or 2 times it snows in Virginia Beach,
like
gets the clever idea, hey, let's go sledding on Mount Trashmore. Nobody will ever know or think about doing that. And you go there and there's like 1 million people trying to do the same thing.
And they kind of, at one point, the city had a regulation against it. You'd get fined.
Oh, I'm sure they still do. And then they got clever and put fences up. And it didn't matter, man. You still go blowing through that fence at 100 miles an hour. But okay, so it kind of is what it is. So let's go and we're going to talk about April Fool's Day, its origins, meanings, and hoaxes. And this is according to the History Channel.
Okay.
Because it's got history in the name, and we figured why not check there first, right?
Legit source.
Yeah, and that's air quotes, legit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So according to the History Channel, in the origins of April Fools, it's celebrated April 1st. We all know this. It's been celebrated for several different centuries. So it's been going on for several centuries. Different cultures have gone through, and they have their own types of celebrations. And the exact origins remain a mystery.
Okay.
But the traditions are kind of the same, playing hoaxes or practical jokes on others, often yelling April Fools at the end, of the joke or the hoax or whatever, which I guess that makes it okay. After you prank somebody, April Fools, like, oh, shucks, I can't be mad at you because I fell for it. Yeah. So the exact history is shrouded in mystery, but pretty much seems like it's you're allowed, right? Okay. This one day to kind of prank people and sort of be okay with it. But some of the historians think that this goes back all the way back to, 16?
At least 1582, when France switched from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar.
Yeah, strong name, good name.
In the Julian calendar, as well as the Hindu calendar, the new year began with the spring equinox around April 1st. People who were slow to get the news or failed to recognize that the start of the new year had moved to January 1st and continued to celebrate it during the last week of March through April 1st became the butt of jokes and hoaxes and were called April Fools. These pranks included having paper fish placed on their backs and being referred to as
the poisson d'avril.
Yeah, which is April fish, said to symbolize a young, easily caught fish and a gullible person. Now, like Greg was saying, it's the true origins have been kind of shrouded in mystery because, additionally, historians have noted that April Fool's Day festivals such as Hilaria, which in Latin means joyful, were celebrated in ancient Rome towards the end of March by followers of the cult of Cybele. This involved people dressing up in disguises and mocking fellow citizens and even magistrates, and was said to be inspired by the Egyptian legend of Isis, Osiris, and Seth. Yeah.
So pretty much the history of April Fool's Day, it's spread throughout Britain as well during the 18th century, Scotland, and it became tradition where they did like a 2-day event, starting with the hunting of the gawk. Gawk is a word for cuckoo bird, which is also a symbol for fool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, it goes on. In modern times, we've gone through great lengths to create elaborate April Fool's Day hoaxes in newspapers, radio, television stations, websites, podcasts have participated in April Fool's Day tradition by, reporting outrageous things. And here recently we've seen it on the internet where Google changes things.
Yeah.
Like at one time they had like a search engine that it was telepathically, you could use your mind to figure out, what you want to search for.
Okay.
Yeah. And people were trying to fall for it. I remember that. And it's like, in 1996, Taco Bell basically duped people when they announced that they agreed to purchase the Philadelphia's Liberty Bell. And they intended to rename it the Taco Liberty Bell.
Oh, God.
That actually pissed a lot of people off.
Yeah, I could imagine.
Which is kind of funny. It's like, really? 1998, Burger King advertised the left-handed Whopper, which is kind of lame, but,
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people requested it. I'm left-handed. I would request the left-handed Whopper. Can I have I would do it as a dad joke, but, talk about Google. They included everything from a telepathic search to the ability to play Pac-Man on Google Maps.
That was kind of cool. I remember that one. Yeah.
But, some of the average trickster things you could do would be plastic wrapping the toilet under the lid so that when you sit down and pee, you pee on your legs and stuff like that. Switching out the sugar and the salt. Kid stuff.
I had somebody do that to me once. It was awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just loosening it up a little bit so you dump all the salt in there.
Yeah.
So anyway, it kind of got me thinking about some of the stuff that I'd seen and some of the stuff from the past from reading this particular little article that we just talked about of some of the, sort of posts that you see and maybe in the newspaper, that kind of thing where like, I kind of wondered if some of the old pranks and stuff from the earlier than, like in 1800s, 1900s, early 1900s, way back in the day, right? If they were different, because a lot of times the old school history type stuff is different than new school, right? Because, you can prank people now electronically. It's great.
Yeah.
Like Rick Roll, But I think Rick Roll is actually something that's kind of has transcended the whole April Fool's Day. It's in its own little category.
Yeah.
But here's some of the weirdest news stories that ever appeared in the New York Times. Right?
Yeah.
And some of these were April Fool's Day. And I kind of wanted to go through and kind of talk about some of them because I kind of read it and I'm like, well, some of these are just dumb and I didn't care. But some of them I thought were pretty funny.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm trying to scroll. One of them was, and this happened in 1904, the wife returned after having a fine funeral. Mm-hmm. And this Italian couple basically had a fight. The wife left, right? And she said, I won't come back no matter what, even if I die, that kind of thing, right? She's like, And basically what happened was her husband had to go down to the morgue and identify a person there.
Oh.
So he went to identify, and he says, hey, this doesn't look like my wife.
Oh.
And the mortician was saying things, the morgue person, what's the morgue person called?
Mortician.
The morgue doctor.
Funeral home director.
Yeah, but this was at the morgue, though, not the funeral home. We'll just call him the morgue man. So the morgue man he was saying things like, death beautifies them all, because, he was like, this doesn't look like my wife. They all change after death. Because the guy, the husband was like, this wife was better looking than my wife.
Oh, gosh.
And he was like saying things like, death beautifies them all. Right?
Yeah.
So basically the morgue man smothered the guy's doubts. The guy's name was Valente, and basically he brought the body back to the home.
Mortician.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brought the body back to the home, and then basically did an old request that had been made by his wife to bury her in the wedding dress,
Yeah.
And so Mr. Valente had Mrs. Valente, attired in the wedding dress, and the funeral was held, and Valente footed the bills.
Oh.
And, this event was even in the Italian newspapers.
Oh.
And, pretty much, that was the end of it, right?
Yeah.
Well, evidently, notice the event was published in the Italian newspapers, and the real Mrs. Valente, after reading it, started post-haste back to her home. And when she got home, basically Valente discovered that, the real Miss Valente was at his house rummaging through looking for her wedding dress.
Oh, my God.
And she wanted to know what had become of the wedding dress, and he goes, I buried you in it 3 days ago, right?
Yeah.
So this is when the real trouble started, right? So the real trouble basically is Valente had satisfied himself that it was his real wife who stood before him and that he had buried the wrong woman. Oh, and the only way he could restore peace was by promising to buy his wife another wedding dress just like the one in which he buried the strange woman in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what he did was he basically sent the city a bill. So he demanded the city pay him $100, which is what he spent for the funeral for the wrong woman.
Yeah.
$40 in lost wages because of the stress and illness.
Yeah.
Basically finding the shock of his wife being alive. And $110 for the bridal dress, the costume.
Yeah.
Which he had placed on the corpse. And basically he figures that's the sum he needs to buy his wife a real dress.
Or a new one. Yeah.
And he said basically he never would have accepted a body of the other woman whose identity still is unknown unless the morgue keeper had forced him to believe that it was the body of his wife.
See, that's just wrong. I mean, I understand it's 1904.
They all change after death, I mean.
Okay. Gosh forbid.
Death beautifies them all.
Gosh forbid something happened to one of us, you or me, and the other had to go claim or view the body.
I have tattoos. Tattoos.
Yes.
You have tattoos.
Yes.
So there you go. We're done.
Yeah.
So, is that an April Fool's Day?
That is awful.
No, it's not. It's just a funny story, I thought. This Italian couple's like, I could just, he's thinking this is not right, man. But, he's like, I'll show you. I'll sue the city. But I like where he's like, this woman's better looking than my wife. So, there's a couple of them in here, and I read.
Oh, there's one. Real quick. December 25th, 1913. Santa dies on Christmas trip. That's horrible.
Yeah, but that's not April Fool's Day.
I know.
Yeah, it's just a funny story. It's not funny, but the one I was looking at this also was an April Fool's Day, but I thought it was pretty funny. The monster of Loch Ness is now raising a family.
Yeah.
So, basically they were saying that, hey, this is back June 26, 1937, right? Loch Ness, the home of the supposed monster, who was a reliable fixture in the Times headlines in the 1930s, because that's when the full flap of the Loch Ness monster really began. And it says that basically it seems that there is not merely one, but there are two Loch Ness monsters, and they have produced a litter of baby monsters.
Oh.
Yeah. And D.B. Wedge, a science teacher at the boys' school attached to the Benedictine Abbey of Fort Augustus, which is at the head of Loch Ness, said that he had not seen the baby monsters, but several of his pupils had, and the baby monsters were about 3 feet long. Yep. And so they talked about, the sensationalism of the reports, and basically wanted to use, or suggested was the use of a diving bell to explore underwater caverns, which is fed by the warm springs, and looking for them. Which I thought, okay, that's kind of crazy, but it really sort of got to another one of these that I have as I scroll to get down here and try to find it, where, let me see if I can get it real quick. Here we go. I'm scrolling. Where did it go? It was a practical joke that was on April Fool's.
I can't find an April Fool's one.
Oh, I think I know why, because it's on a different page.
Oh.
So let me see if I can get it real quick. It's hilarious. You're going to love it.
You are filling the silence with suspense.
No, I'm not. There we go. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, let me scroll this page too.
Jeez. Really?
Yeah. Scrolling.
Okay.
I have a huge headache from the Chinese food.
Yep.
Okay, so this is Loch Ness Monster, Loch Ness Imposter. It's a Loch Ness Monster story. And there's a picture. It says, this is the creature that Yorkshire Flamingo Park Zoo scientists found in Loch Ness. A team of scientists from Yorkshire's Flamingo Park Zoo thought they'd made the ultimate discovery in 1972 when they found a mysterious animal's lifeless body floating in the waters of Loch Ness. The unidentified creature appeared to be the body of the fabled Loch Ness Monster, which immediately started a media storm, right, of reports that the beast had finally been found. And one local resident reportedly said, I touched it and put my hand in its mouth. It's real, all right.
Oh.
I thought it looked like half bear, half seal, green in color, with a horrific head like a bear with flat ears. I was shocked. That's pretty sketchy, right?
Yeah.
So Scottish cops got involved when they basically stopped the English researchers from trying to take the national cryptid back across the border for examination.
Oh.
Because you're not taking away our Loch Ness Monster. It's from Scotland, right?
Yeah.
So what they found out is that, when the creature's body was inspected by the curator of the Edinburgh Zoo, it was quickly identified as the body of an elephant bull seal.
That's okay.
Yeah. But what triggered that new mystery is that how a creature native to the South Atlantic Ocean ended up thousands of miles from its home and into Loch Ness.
That is weird, though.
Yeah. And it turned out that John Shields, who is the Flamingo Park Zoo's education officer, had dumped the seal's body into the Loch Ness to prank his colleagues. He shaved off its whiskers and he stuffed its face full of rocks. And in between the tip-off call, which led the scientists to its body, and so basically he set him up.
That's messed up.
Yep. It's a joke that got out of hand. And it's the fake news discovery. It's actually spread around the world. Kind of funny, right?
Yeah.
Not as funny as me scrolling around trying to find it, though.
I know, right?
Yeah.
'Cause I don't know. I'm just sitting here like, okay, if today, 2021, somebody tried to dump the remains of an exotic animal in Loch Ness, they'd be facing all sorts of ecology, environmental fines. Fish and Game's going to get involved. You're going to get in so much trouble, regardless if you're a professor at a zoo or a college trying to play a prank on somebody.
Yeah.
And Loch Ness is a touchy subject. You'd have the real diehard researchers,
angry Scottish people.
Yeah.
Now, this is something that may be this is something that could have happened to
a
lot of people. In 2016, Google ended up admitting that they kind of pranked themselves.
Oh.
Right. So the internet giant had released an April Fool's Day feature called the Mic Drop, which let users add an animated GIF of a minion from the film Despicable Me dropping a microphone to the end of the emails.
Oh.
But once it was used, the email chain would be disabled as if the user had dropped the mic and finished the discussion.
Oh.
So they thought it was fun, right? And it's on the face of it, the feature was just a little bit of lighthearted fun, but because the mic drop feature was next to the send button,
many
people added them to the into their emails by mistake. which led to some wildly inappropriate messages being sent, including future employers from recent interviewees or to bereaved families from the undertakers, right?
Yeah, and there's a screenshot of one of these, sadly, funeral arrangements for somebody. And it's, we're very sorry to hear about your tragic loss. But then right at the top is the minion dropping the mic.
Yeah.
And that's awful.
And then they can't really do anything like respond.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it was a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in 2002, some radio host, right, ended up likened to terrorists. In 2002, when their prank triggered a mass panic. In Kansas City, local disc jockeys warned listeners that high levels of dihydrogen monoxide had been detected in a local water supply.
Yeah.
They said the substance would cause the skin to wrinkle and leave people needing to frequently urinate. What they failed to mention is dihydrogen monoxide is just the chemical name for water.
Oh, my gosh.
Over 100 panicked locals called the cops, who were so unimpressed with the radio host that they likened it to be a terrorist incident.
And see, that's
something that people still try to...
Well, there's that whole Facebook page that, like, me and some of your friends still go to, and it's like, fight against dihydrogen monoxide.
Yeah.
Moms against dihydrogen.
But, it's a joke. It's funny, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty funny.
Oh, that's so bad.
There's a bunch of them, too. It kind of goes on and on, but we really just kind of want to jump on here and just talk a little bit about April Fool's Day. And we do have one that we sort of alluded to in the very beginning of the podcast that we're going to play pretty quick, though.
Okay.
Yeah. And just to sort of set this scene, if you will, Mount Trashmore in Virginia Beach. This is back April Fool's Day, 1992.
Yeah.
It's called The Day That Mount Trashmore Blew Up. Now, if I remember correctly, I was in my car driving past Mount Trashmore when the original broadcast happened.
Yeah.
Because I think I'd gone through the toll booth when you used to have to pay $0.25 to get on the expressway.
Yeah.
Because, I went to work early because I was in the Navy, and I would go down to the base, and you take, and people used to leave really early to go to the base in case there was an accident. So I had to be there by 7. I left at like 4:45, because if I didn't, I'd be late, and it's only like 12 miles, but it was a thing. And if I remember correctly, I was right there, and I heard it on the radio. I know I heard it on the radio, but I'm not exactly sure if I was right by Mount Trashmore. And for about half a second, I was like, oh, man, this is crazy. But then I realized it was funny. Yeah, so we're going to take a second, and we're going to play this. This is from a news broadcast from Channel 13 in Virginia, and they're from North Virginia. And the reason why we're playing this is, we're adding substantive content to the podcast. Yeah. So you ready?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
At the Doodah Parade in downtown Norfolk, FM 99 morning personality Henry the Bull seemed carefree. It was hard to tell earlier in the day. He and his partner, Tommy Griffith, sent hundreds of people into a panic. But at an afternoon news conference, their boss had some explaining to do.
They have very fertile imaginations, and perhaps they took it to a higher extent than they should have, and they certainly didn't see the repercussions. I don't think any of us did until afterwards.
As an April Fool's joke, the two DJs told listeners Mount Trashmore was going to blow up due to a methane gas buildup. So many people believed them, the FCC decided to investigate.
So many people were concerned that it actually tied up all the lines at the 911 for Virginia Beach, where the first call I received was from the police themselves, public safety people saying, look, we've got to stop this.
Oh, here we go. Not only did people flood the 911 office in Virginia Beach, many actually showed up at emergency shelters with their families.
We're obviously very sorry that it happened. It was not our intention for this to happen. It was just an April Fool's joke.
It was no joke to Mount Trashmore Park officials when their phones started ringing off the hook.
These were particularly from residents in surrounding neighborhoods that were ready to evacuate, and also from a lot of concerned parents whose children had planned field trips for this afternoon at the park.
But after a couple hours, parents didn't worry about bringing their children to the park anymore. and everything seemed back to normal. Until maybe April Fool's Day next week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was hilarious and embarrassing all at the same time.
Well, because so many people genuinely believed it.
And that's the embarrassing part.
Yeah.
People running around. It was embarrassing the way that it was embarrassing when, like, Boston shut down because somebody had put blinking Moonanite
Aqua Teen
Hunger Force figures inside a tunnel, and like they shut the entire city down. Like, oh my god!
Well, this, I mean, okay, it's 1992, so you know it's a little bit back there. People may not have been as savvy, even though
No, the people that were that freaked out and scared about it are just as stupid as you think that they would.
But it was mostly the people who lived around it, because the way the prank went, they were trying to convince everybody who lived around Mount Trashmore needed to evacuate immediately.
Yeah.
So it really did tie up traffic in that area. The city's 911 lines were getting tied up so badly that people couldn't get through to 911. They kept pushing the prank throughout the show until the cops showed up in the studio.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and it's kind of a fun fact that, you know, you had Henry the Bull del Toro and Tommy Griffiths, right?
Yeah.
And their show in the morning was like the top radio show.
Yeah.
In the area. I think they were called the Dawn Patrol back then. Yeah. And I've met and talked to both those guys like multiple times just because they were locals. But, yeah, it was funny.
And here's the thing. The FCC, I think they tried to fine them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there used to be a policy about broadcasting false information, which could result in public panic, and that's kind of what they did.
Yeah. But basically what it boiled down to is they were both suspended for 2 weeks and they weren't fired.
Yeah.
And they were pretty sure that was the end of their career.
Yeah.
But it was freaking hilarious.
It was. And funnily enough, I mean...
Well, and that's part of it, because when they first built that place, they actually had a problem with methane, and it's like a local urban legend that a guy was walking his dog and smoking a cigar and blew up a chunk of Mount Trashmore.
Oh, really?
And the only thing they found was the leash and the collar of the dog, and that's it. Because that's why Mount Trashmore is not a nice... sort of like, you know, even mound, you know?
Yeah.
It has a dip in the middle.
Oh, that's...
Yeah, and the legend is that the dip in the middle was caused by an explosion.
I had never heard that.
And that they didn't have any methane or vents in there to vent the decomposing trash that makes up Trashmore.
But it's supposed to vent into the little lake in front of it.
Well, afterward... They put that in afterward, because this is back when, you know, you didn't really do these geological green projects. You know, you buried your trash, but, you know, why not turn an eyesore into a beautiful park where people could walk their dogs and stuff, and you would go and you would, you know, feed the seagulls and the ducks, and they had a skateboard park there, and at one time they had the soapbox derby park, and
a really good skate park.
Well, it was okay. At one time, it really wasn't like a real skate park like you'd see now. It was more like where you would take roller skates and ride through there.
Yeah.
And then they added skateboard stuff, and that's where, you know, I got to talk to Tony Hawk for a while.
Yeah.
And he wasn't like Tony Hawk back then. I mean, he was still Tony Hawk, but he was just a skinny punk like me. You know, we're like pretty close in age, and we just, you know, because he always had the weird sort of blonde hair with a pink polo shirt.
Yeah.
With the pop collar, you know, and that was the cool thing, is they'd show up and do these skate things, you know, for like Vans and a couple other it was like Vans and 17th Street Surf Shop and stuff like that, and they would do BMX stuff there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in 1992, I was heading to the ship because I was in the Navy.
I was heading to school. So.
Yep. So, yeah, I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go, a little local lore about Virginia Beach. Now, as far as did a person actually blow up and all that stuff, I have no idea. But that was one of the reasons that people were maybe overreacted is because I think probably because of that legend that it has blown up before. So the people that bought houses in that area who are like, oh, we're not getting hung up the second time.
And see, I had never heard that legend. So that kind of compounds like.
That kind of explains maybe the overreach and overreaction of people.
Yeah, the overreaction. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So
I thought that was kind of a funny thing. Because I really did go searching, trying to find some like paranormal,
Yeah.
like April Fool's Day things. And I couldn't, there really wasn't anything good. It's all kind of like lame. Which is okay. But I did come across like things that you can do.
Yeah.
If you want to do some April Fool's Day things. Because some of the April Fool's Day things were like, hey, it's not the end of the world, and tried to cause mass panic. There's an April Fool's Day murder where this guy spiked some other guy's, he wanted poisoning his roommate in a prank he claimed went wrong. But yeah, there's some things that you can do if you would like to do some April Fool's Day things.
Sure.
Like some jokes, if you will, some harmless April Fool's Day. I don't really want to call them pranks because some of them are kind of lame.
Well, this article calls them pranks, and I'm just like,
yeah. Well, okay.
These are just like simple gags that, in my opinion, aren't really funny either.
Yeah, and that's like when I was kind of looking up some of the stuff. I don't really do April Fool's Day pranks and stuff because I don't really like to do pranks. If you do one to me, I'll do one back. I just don't, I don't like to scare things either. Like this one guy scared his wife, way back in the 1800s. Basically knocked on the door. It was like 1896. This guy named John Allenstrom, he decided to dress up like a tramp, and he put a white mask on to scare his newlywed. When he knocked on the front door of their home, he knocked on the door and asked her to cook dinner, his wife, and she fainted from fright.
Oh.
Okay. Hour later, dead. That's not funny.
Yeah.
And then Volkswagen was going to change their name. The Volkswagen.
Oh.
With a T.
Yeah.
Yeah. For April Fool's Day, but it was leaked early by the press. So, I didn't really find a whole lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was supposed to happen this year.
Yeah, it was released early.
Yeah.
So they look kind of silly.
Okay. But like some of these pranks that you were talking about, I'll go through these real quick because I don't think many of them are funny.
No.
The harmonica, somehow duct tape a harmonica under the front bumper of your victim's car. They won't hear anything at first, but they'll eventually notice an unmistakable wheezing sound coming from what they believe is their car's engine.
Yeah, that's actually kind of funny, but it's funny if you do it to the tailpipe.
Oh.
Because then every time you give it gas, it goes, shh, makes crazy noise. People are like, what?
I don't know. I don't need to also worry about car troubles.
Yeah.
That's
got
my
enough
thing.
stuff going on.
This one I love and hate because I've fallen for this one before. Use the other door signs.
Yeah, but pointing to the same one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then,
here's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Rearranged kitchen drawers.
I would fight somebody.
Well, it depends. I mean, if they want to go in there and they want to take the time to clean up the utensils and stuff and organize them in a different way than the unorganized way that we currently have them, go for it. While you're at it, why don't you rearrange my room, clean it up, and rearrange the office.
So I've actually done this one, though. I'm not proud of it. The urgent request. Write a little note on a Post-it note, like, I need to see you ASAP, or call me immediately about the blah, blah, blah project, and then add an illegible signature. Or, like, you leave the phone number and one of the digits is wrong or messed up, and then just put it on a coworker's desk.
Yeah.
I've done this all day, where I kept leaving the note with a different phone number or a different person, and they would call that person, and they'd be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Once they finally figured out who they were supposed to call, because that in itself would take like 10, 20 minutes, and they'd be like, what are you talking about? And then that person would go on their break, and another Post-it note would go up.
See, if you worked in a cube farm somewhere, that's funny.
Yeah.
I did one at work and kind of got in trouble for it. Working at the same cube farm, we had these water dispensers in different areas, throughout the building because they had a really big floor where a lot of people worked. And they put these new water dispensers in, and there was a red handle thing,
Yeah.
a blue handled thing, and a white handled thing.
Okay.
So red, blue, and white. And so I went and put labels on them. The red one was strawberry, the blue one was blueberry, and the white one was vanilla. So I went and labeled them, and I spent a couple hours printing out these little super sweet looking labels with our super expensive stuff.
Printers.
Yeah, and put these labels on there for strawberry, blueberry, and vanilla, and I got caught. And I got caught by the president of the company at the time, and I had to go in her office and explain where I had all this time to make out these, fancy labels using our fancy Canon software. Because you had the software where you could do scrapbooks and labels and stuff like that. So, and I told her, I said, well, I had to test it, and I didn't, want to get rid of or waste the stickers. So I felt it necessary, to use them. So that's what I did. So I printed out 16 of these things and stuck them on all the water dispensers, strawberry, blueberry, and vanilla. And some people were like, I just want regular water. I don't want vanilla. So that's what happened was people there started bitching, right? There's always somebody that has a gallon water jug, that just walks around sucking down water all day long. Like they're physically fit and they're not. They're buff, big, ugly, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. And drinking, I can't get my water. I can't put my aloe supplement in my water because I don't want strawberry, blueberry, or vanilla, Even though the day before it was just water, red's hot water, blue is ice water or something like that, and then white was just regular water.
Yeah, room temperature.
Yeah.
People
complained.
There was a different version of those water dispensers when I had worked at that location first, early in the day. The problem was those little red, blue, and white clips.
Yeah.
You could pick them up. You could pull them off.
Yeah, they're all replaceable.
So somebody switched them the wrong order on the first model. That made somebody mad. They got their nice, cool ice water, sat down at their desk, signed in to help work, and took a big old sip of burning hot water. So...
yeah.
I did not do that. That was somebody else's prank. So
I didn't do that either.
Yeah.
There is one in here I thought was kind of funny. It's caramel, you have caramel apples.
Yeah.
But you do caramel onions.
Oh, I've seen this on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But yeah, anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, that was a practical joke I did and got in trouble. I did another one too, and I'm not going to talk about it.
Okay.
Well, I did one and then went on vacation. I forgot all about it by the time I got back from vacation. And it had been a big thing where they looked really hardcore trying to figure out what was going on for 3 days. And all the supervisors wound up blaming each other for it. Because the guy that was my supervisor at the time, was supposed to let him off the hook. But he wound up being out of work for 5 days because of a kidney stone. So they just all stewed on this thing, and to the point where they tried to do their own in-house handwriting analysis to figure out whose handwriting it was. Come to find out it was me. And by then I'd forgot all about it. So I was legit I have no idea what you're talking about. And and they blamed each other. It was fantastic.
There was that one.
Well, you know what it was, right?
What?
I had printed out pictures of the president of the company from her headshot.
Oh, yeah.
Because we got these new mouse pads, and they had these inspirational quotes, that you could slide in there.
You could slide in quotes or your favorite photo.
Yeah, so I printed out her picture and photoshopped inspirational quotes from the president of the company, and then basically photoshopped her signature with just using a random cursive font. And I went and slid them in all the mouse pads of the supervisors. Things like, I really like your style. Thanks for being you. Just really just lame corporate stuff, right? Mm-hmm. But, I put a couple in, you know how there's always the gossip at work. Well, some of the supervisors had been, you know, sort of talked to about certain things. And one supervisor was talked to about his stylish pants that he wore.
Oh, yeah.
And so when I really like your style and stuff like that on his desk, he got a little fired up about it, right? So that's what kind of started the whole thing. It started this fire that was supposed to be put out by, at the time, my supervisor, who was busy passing a kidney stone, and it never got done. And see, I think what really gave it more traction and more problem than it should have been was, at the time, the president of the company was new. She'd just been promoted to president of the company. And she was going around giving a tour to the Chesapeake Chamber of Commerce people. And then, like, right after that, she was giving a tour to these Korean dignitaries from another company.
Oh.
Coming into our company to see how we do things.
Yeah.
And so, you know, they had given these mouse pads to everybody in the company. And everyone, because she knew you probably don't want to go cruising past, you know, a non-supervisor's desk, because they were in the loop to be all spiffy and stuff because we're having these very important dignitaries. But every desk she went to and flipped that mouse pad over was her.
Oh, gosh.
With these little silly inspirational quotes. So, yeah, when I got back off of vacation like 5 days later, I had to go have a talking to. And it was the same one. She was like, okay, first it was the water dispenser, and now it's these mouse pads.
Trying to think.
So anyway, I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
I got promoted right after that and was like, you know, taken out of that building completely. But, you know, what else you got to do? But the supervisors were like they were all fighting amongst themselves because they knew each other did it because they were kind of a little bit of a practical jokers. But yeah, it was fun. That was fun. I didn't get fired for that. So, but yeah, every time she flipped a mouse pad over, it was her face. So
I was trying to think of the one.
If she's listening, I apologize, but I'm not going to apologize because it was fun.
We had that one where we had a learning lab, and we had these flatbed faxes and scanner devices, and someone taped your photo, your big old face, taped it to a certain part of one of these scanning devices, so that when the new technicians had to learn about the device and test it, for some reason, only your face printed.
Yes.
Yes.
I did not do that.
Yeah, somebody else thought it was such an awesome prank that they mixed up all the different devices so that every training class, one technician, one new, fresh technician got that problem.
Yeah. Yep. There was a bunch of, like, practical jokes like that at work. And,
yeah.
You know, there's always somebody who's really sensitive to being made fun of or being poked at. And we had one guy who was a trainer, and somehow or another, his face got printed out like 1,000 times, you know, and cut out. It was like the size of a dime. You know, they were trimmed out and put like on every poster and picture in the building had, like, there's a crowd scene or whatever, have his face in it. Mm-hmm. And it took him like a year to figure that out. And then when he did, he freaked out. And by then, everybody had forgot who did it.
So I had some evil ones, like, you know, the circle game, you know, where the hand position that looks like a circle.
Yeah, we called it a Hawkeye.
Yeah, so it was called the circle game when I was growing up. And I had this employee that was or coworker that was very, very interested in things on my desk in my cubicle. Very nosy. And I didn't understand why. Nobody understood why. I would go on breaks and I'd come back and somebody would tell me, yeah, that person was over by your desk again. So I started printing out little circle games on different things and putting them like under flower pots, or I just put flat out insults and put it like on the back of my picture frame. And eventually that person stopped checking out my desk. So, but that wasn't an April Fool's thing.
No.
Yeah. But if in less threatening circumstances, that would be funny.
Yeah. I ate somebody's lunch one time because I put it on my desk. Well, there's a guy who made lunch, right? And he always made, when it was something really good, he always made me a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, and he was a really good cook, like really good. And so it wasn't uncommon for me to see, you know, like a little Tupperware bowl with, you know, lunch.
Yeah.
Written on the top of it. Well, I came into work running kind of late, and, you know, there it was. There was this bowl of delicious stuff on the desk, and I ate it real quick. and got right to work. And he came back like 6 minutes later. Have you seen my lunch? I think I left it on your desk. And I couldn't lie to him.
Oh, my God.
I'm like, yeah, I might have ate it. He's like, I was only gone for like 5 minutes. I'm like, that's all it takes, brother. So I ate his lunch. I felt pretty bad about it. But then the next time a Tupperware bowl showed up on my desk, it was from him, and it said, eat this one.
Okay.
Not this one. Because that's what he would do. What he would do is he knew that if he put stuff on my desk, it'd be safe. Like nobody would mess with it. So he'd put the lunch and stuff on my desk, go work out or whatever he was going to do. Then he'd come back and grab it and take it off to his little workstation because he didn't really want to microwave things, so he would get it out of the refrigerator. And by the time his lunch rolled around, it'd be like room temperature warm, and he would just eat it. So, because he didn't, somehow he got on a microwave kick.
Oh. That
microwave would melt your face and all that stuff. So, but yeah. It was pretty good. It was a chicken tetrazzini.
Oh.
It was delicious. So anyway, that's about all I got. Just kind of want to jump on here and talk a little bit about April Fool's Day, kind of give you an idea of maybe some pranks that you can do. I mean, they're pretty lame. Because I looked at some of them like, you can tie your friend's shoelaces together. And I'm like, I fell and broke my neck. So that's the last thing I want is to go find some 50-year-old friends and tie their shoelaces together so they can break hips and stuff, right?
Or a fake milk spill, which, yeah. Or here's one, turn all the apps on a smartphone to look like images of kittens. Yeah, that's real great until grandma calls me to fix her phone because you messed it up, Yeah.
So you have to steal their phone and break into it, Now, there are some funny ones you can do, like replacing words that they type in text messages with other words. That's always fun. But overall, April Fool's Day was started because, these people that weren't celebrating the new year with a new calendar that was made up, and they weren't privy to it or didn't pay attention, and they were celebrating the start of the new year wrong because you figure January, February, March, and they're celebrating in April. They're 4 months out of date. They were fools.
Yeah.
But it's time for practical jokes.
Oh, Tinfoil Office is on this list too. We used to do this for birthdays.
Yeah. We used to fill people's keyboards with glitter and stuff like that.
Pennies.
Too. Yeah.
I got in trouble finally after the pennies because I went for artificial snow. So. Yeah.
It's all good.
Okay.
Okay, so anyway, there you go. There's our lame April Fool's Day. Oh, we do have some, but we were working on something earlier, and we actually came up with gathering some of the footage that we had from the past. A couple of years ago, we went out and did some exploration and found some stuff, some Bigfoot sign.
Yeah.
And I forgot we had it on the phone because we kind of got busy, a broken neck and everything, and I was like, man, we need to see if we can post some things because we're all about making some fine quality content. So that's on Facebook. You should check it out. We do have a TikTok too.
Yeah.
The video is there as well if you'd like to check it out. So at Catawba Falls in Old Fort, North Carolina, we found some Bigfoot sign.
And that link to that video, that TikTok video, is actually at the bottom of the show notes. So for everybody.
You should check it out.
Yep. So thanks everybody for tuning in and listening. We do want to thank our Patreon supporters, Dave, Isis, James, Bobby, John, and John. We appreciate your patronage. If you want to support us on Patreon, it's going to be patreon.com/CreepGeeks. Otherwise, check the show notes. Also, we do want our social media to grow. We do have a link to the TikTok in the bottom of the show notes. Check us out. Go ahead and follow us. We'd appreciate it. We are trying to make our Instagram grow. That's going to be CreepGeeks Pod on Instagram. And we have the rest of our social media links in the bottom of this podcast. If you do need to email us, that's going to be contact@creepgeeks.com. And thanks for listening.
There you go. And if you want to listen to the podcast on our YouTube channel, just go to YouTube and type CreepGeeks.
Yep.
And you can listen to everything that we say because we take our audio podcast and we also put it there because some people in the past expressed the idea that they wanted to listen to it on YouTube instead of actually using a podcast player. So we do have it there. Oh. So you can have the podcast playing off of YouTube while you're doing other tasks on the computer. That's perfectly cool. If you do that, go ahead and subscribe so that way you won't miss anything.
And one last thing I did want to add, I just forgot. We are working on getting back on the road and doing some events, some paranormal, Bigfoot, cryptid, alien, UFO events for 2021. We'd like to attend and vend at these events or just be there, you know. So if you have an event in your area that you think we need to know about, send us an email. That's going to be contact@creepgeeks.com, or send us a Facebook message with a link to that event. We're more than interested in learning more about all the different paranormal stuff that's coming back for 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, there you go. So, yeah. So see you later. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I like peanut butter. I like peanut butter. Peanut butter. I like peanut butter. I like peanut butter. Peanut butter. I like peanut butter. I like peanut butter. I like peanut butter. Peanut butter. I like peanut butter. I like peanut butter. I like peanut butter. Peanut butter. I like peanut butter. I like peanut butter. I like peanut butter. Peanut butter. I like peanut butter. I like peanut butter. I like peanut butter. Peanut butter. I like peanut butter. I like peanut butter. I like peanut butter.